It's an interesting cultural difference that here in Nevada, you find doctors who have fear of doing something wrong. Now, I live in a city, New York, where I'm surrounded by teaching hospitals, famous teaching hospitals,
Right.
and I have yet to run into a doctor who has any fear. Whether they treat me well or badly, none of them seem to have any fear, which is also a little scary.
Yeah.
Because
I think they should be.
they should have a little more fear.
I think they should be concerned, and maybe concerned is a better word than fear.
Yeah.
So they're concerned that they could do something that would have a bad outcome. And so rather than do that, they might do nothing, which is not a good scenario either if you really do need surgery and you need your gallbladder removed. Or you need your appendix removed, or you need, so now we're talking anesthesia, but
Yes.
you've had a bad outcome in anesthesia prior to this, and all of a sudden, how do you get that information to your doctor? Are they going to listen to you, or are they going to listen to a guideline or an expert? And so I think you need to have a physician who is knowledgeable and willing to communicate with any of these other physicians in a way that helps them understand how to have a better outcome.
Kind of a physician come educator.
Yeah,
or
exactly.
consultant.
And then, of course, we are in a great place here next to a medical school.
Yes.
So we have all of these young, eager minds. They want to have a fabulous outcome. That's what they're here for. They want to see their patients get better and do well. And so an open-minded, a wonderful time where they're learning everything new. And this physician, I'm hoping, will go over and teach and have students come in and watch him as he goes through the evaluation and explains the disease to them. And all of a sudden we've got people then who are going out and saying, oh no, I know a little bit about that and I can help you with this patient. Or I know a little bit about that, and let me tell you, it's not what you've thought or what the newspaper has portrayed it at. In fact, there is this biological amount of information I can share with you and help you understand. And so this proximity to the medical school is just wonderful. Wonderful opportunities.
I have heard people start to talk here and there about maybe we can fund an internship for 8 weeks, or maybe we can do this to educate.
Fabulous.
Do you have any specific plans in that direction, or you're yet to work it out with University of Nevada,
Well,
Reno?
it definitely is something that can be worked out. We have not done that yet, but as you know, we've had several researchers that have worked in with our researchers.
Yes.
And as a result of that, and have had quite an education, they've got to read, they've got to study, they listen, and now they've gone into medical school. Yeah. And I'm proud to say 2 of them are at the top of their class. It's just amazing. And even if they don't come back and actually practice in this field, they don't just see ME patients, they go into something else, their knowledge is invaluable. They're going to share that. Now, I always tease one of them that she's going to come back and be the director of this institute someday, all the time. And as it turns out, she's going into neurology, which is a wonderful field and exciting, and it will be applicable to this illness and others that are similar. So, but yes, I absolutely want to have students who initially are lectured to, then are able to come in and they do these little preceptorships. They're like 6 weeks where they follow the doctor around and learn. And so that is absolutely an option if the medical school agrees. And so that's, all these things have always been in the back of the plan or in the back of my mind. It's just a matter of the right time. And I think the right time is coming. So.
You're getting enough manpower and starting to be established enough to go. And the disease really now has a bigger body of literature.
Absolutely. And that's what they've been waiting for. And this is why, we put the research program together and why it's been such a primary focus for this institute, because that knowledge is going to drive the treatment and the diagnostic tools that doctors use. And so, I hesitate a little bit when we see too much of the jumping into a new drug without knowing the mechanisms and just because we get a good outcome isn't enough. So when we were talking, for instance, about Ampligen earlier, and the FDA was talking about it, I understand where they were coming from, that until the pathways or the mechanisms are better understood so that we know who's going to benefit and who will not benefit, it makes it very, very, very difficult to approve. Even though I wrote a letter in support of it because it did help my daughter, I understand where they are and what their responsibility is to the general public. I mean, to these patients. They have a responsibility that if they're going to approve a drug, it isn't going to be harmful to the majority. And we don't know that yet. I think we don't know enough about why it was positive. And I want to know why was that a positive experience for this small percentage of patients. And you know, don't negate the fact that it was and is a lifesaver for some people. And the sooner we understand why, the quicker it can be approved for specific reasons and for specific patients. And I think that goes with any of these new drugs that they're starting to try.
We're in kind of a trap, I think, a trap of underfunding.
Yes.
And, you know, the small company that makes Ampligen, for one, has no kind of money to really fund any more trials than they have already. It's just hopeless. I mean, I've suggested that they should be taken over by eminent domain and the government
if there
funds
was such a thing. But,
right.
But apparently there isn't. So in our community, in our society, there is no answer to that other than to be sold, and somebody has to want to buy you. And if they think that the market is too small, now, could it come under, could they do a joint venture? That's another issue. Would the government be willing to joint venture with this company and support them? Because under the Rare Diseases Act, which, you know, they're really trying to focus now on supporting pharmaceuticals for rare diseases where they know there's going to be a very, very small market. I believe that in this case, it's probably going to be a smaller market than the general population. It's already been shown it doesn't work, except it works phenomenally well. When I didn't finish that sentence. It's been shown it doesn't work for a group of patients at the ME. It's shown to work phenomenally well for another group. So in a sense, it's like a rare disease population. It's a portion of these patients that it's a lifesaver for. So could it come under some new venture, co-venture, rare disease funding kind of mechanism? To me, where there's a will, there's a way.
Well,
so we just need to describe it differently.
There's a problem, though, of lack of will that we're still facing. You know,
that is true.
Society is so complicated. There's so much going on. You know, our political process itself is difficult in the best of times, and our disease has suffered from huge prejudice against it.
And disinformation.
Disinformation. Really. And the question is, how do we build up from zero, really, in terms
well, what you're talking about is credibility.
I'm talking about politics and credibility.
Yes, and I think the number one, and I think that Dr. Lombardi can speak to this, the number one goal has got to be good science. Has to be good science. Even good clinical trial science, good basic in the laboratory science. Again, learning and understanding exactly what is going on, or to a degree enough to satisfy a biological answer to this disease somewhat. We don't have to know everything about it. They don't know everything about MS. They don't know everything about Alzheimer's. But they have a body of information that the majority of people agree on. They use that as a basis for moving forward into appropriate treatments. As there's more knowledge, more treatment, more interest, more money, more science. But we need to bring that body of information to a level that satisfies a definition. I mean, I've said forever, instead of this loose, very loose, and very cumbersome definition that we have right now, that is basically, if they don't have that, then they might have this. If they don't have that, they might have this. instead a one-sentence definition. If you look at the diseases that are accepted, they've got a one-sentence definition. It starts out with, it is inflammatory, / it is autoimmune, / it is infectious, / It's what?
But
One sentence. One sentence. We have a one-sentence definition. Now we have a disease. Now we have something everybody agrees on, and now we move forward.
But what upsets me when I look at the research, and I'm talking about this broadly all over the country, all
over the place,
different fields, is we're using too much subjective information from patients.
Right.
And
not enough of the science.
And not enough objective information. I think we should throw out all subjective information. If you want to know if people are tired, attach a pedometer to them, attach an activometer. I've looked at the Karnofsky quiz.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous. I couldn't even bring myself to fill one out.
For instance, if you're going to talk about a sleep disorder, then quantify it. If you're going to talk
wire them.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, so it's interesting. I don't even have it on today. Normally, I wear a little mechanism. And as a matter of fact, I've told them, I told Apple, and I went with Dr. Demirlia, we were together. When we were in New York, when we interviewed. And I told him about it, and he bought 4 of them. I said, let me tell you what these do. They tell you how much this person, how active they are, how long they've been active, how many hours they're active. But better than that, at night, you switch it, and it tells you to sleep. It is not scientific, obviously, as going to a sleep study center, which only, by the way, gives you half a night or a night of sleep. It doesn't tell you what's going on over the week or the month, or it has it's kind of an acute setting, is what I want to say.
Yeah.
But this is a chronic disease with chronic sleep disorder. You put that on, and at night, you switch it over to the sleep. Well, it tells you how many hours of deep sleep and light sleep and how many times you were awake. Well, that would quantify, in some degree, that sleep. Now, it doesn't do the waves. I understand that maybe the problem is in the type of sleep. But it does tell you whether you're getting deep sleep and light sleep based on I believe it's on your movement. And I would love to learn more about the technology so I could actually be speaking to that. But I told Kenny about it. He said, oh my gosh. And I've told a cardiologist about it who had 10 different ways that he could use it. The 2 doctors I've told about it were so excited they couldn't wait to try it out on patients. But in this population, you're absolutely right. What does it tell you? They haven't moved today. They went to the bathroom. A normal person, now you quantify a normal person, they take 10,000 steps, let's say, a day, an average healthy person for the most part. And you would just say, let's compare that to this person. And you're going, oh, they had 10 minutes of activity, and this person had 2 hours of sustained activity. When you're cardiac and you're really moving the whole time, you haven't sat down for any period of time. There are ways to do it, and you are absolutely right. Your point is we need objective markers that teach us about this disease. It isn't enough to say, my body feels like lead. I haven't been able to raise my head today. I can't feed myself. Yes, those are serious, serious issues, but until it's really brought to the national consciousness through objective measures, people are always making excuses for why they might be. Oh, well, they were lazy. They're couch potatoes. They didn't feel like it. They weren't, there's always excuses for it, when in fact, they're very seriously ill and incapable.
And with our wonderful technologies now.
We've got them. It's
I
amazing.
mean, if my car can be taught to park itself, there's no limit on what technology can do.
I think it's just a matter of time before they determine that this little band is going to be able to do oxygen saturation, for instance, and all kinds of medical things that right now they're not applying because it was used. It's an exercise. It's something to encourage you to get better sleep. It encourages you to get more exercise right now. I see an incredible use for it as they put more sophisticated technology into it, and it'll be used medically for all kinds of problems and all kinds of issues.
I think we have to find a way to get to people like Mr. Cook at Apple or whoever runs.
I know. I just walked to the store. I said, "You guys don't realize what you have here. It's pretty amazing." So
we've got to get to the development people.
Yeah.
At these various companies.
They all went wow, we never thought about that.
No.
But yeah, it's exciting. So there's some real possibilities there for objective. But you're right. That's what we
yet I'm disturbed actually at the lack of objective information.
We should
quit.
try to
Yeah.
bring it
Well, I
back
figured
forward.
you could cut off anything.
I can cut.
You'll have to cut some because
Oh
we
yeah,
went on
we're
too
just
long.
on.
Yeah.
And she can shorten it to whatever.
I was
We're
going
just
to bring
having a
up
general conversation.
I was going to bring up rituximab, but I guess we
I
could
do.
just let that
Yeah,
go.
I
You don't
know.
really.
We talked a little bit about Ampligen and
Yeah.
what some of the issues are,
Yeah,
and you talked about the WPI.
Okay, and we can move over.
Let me close this.
Yeah, I
Let's get-
deliberately didn't get that much into the
Let's get it closed though.
research. I didn't
close.
get that much into
No,
a
you-
research because I figured
You don't need to do that because
Yeah.
he's going to do it. Yeah. And
Close,
I
huh?
think it's important to talk about these kinds of issues. I really think they need to know that we're thinking about them and that we
Yeah.
recognize them. You know, a lot of patients want to know, what are you doing here and how are you making a difference? And they want to know. So when you have these conversations, they understand these things are being considered. You know, objective markers that teach the rest of the world about the illness.
Yeah, I think we have to look at hard data in everything. I even think I love your outreach program. I'd like to see more ways that can be made both into a hard gesture and one we can measure with hard data.
And how does it improve their lives? How are they? Yes. Are they given more hope? Are they, you know, how are they functioning and as a result of some of these efforts?
Yeah, and then we can promulgate it. We can publish and
More people can get involved in that kind of activity.
and duplicate it and so forth. Anyway, it's been so great to see you again. I
Thank you.
always enjoy my visits to Reno, but especially since I've gotten to know you and to see how much the Whittemore Peterson Institute is doing to move science forward in our field.
Well, like I
Thank
said,
you.
we enjoy very, very much having you. And thank you for coming and sharing our information with the rest of the world. I think it gives a lot of people a lot of hope.
We all need to be sharing more information,
Absolutely.
definitely. Thank you again, Annette.
You're welcome.